Hey guys, we are slowly going to get comfortable again. I took a little bit of a break, changed into my PJ bottoms at least, took the jeans off. I'll keep the top on and the bra on for you guys. I took some Excedrin. No, this is not an ad for Excedrin, but if they would like to sponsor me, hey, I used to buy you guys in bulk. The migraine is almost 24 hours. It's at 22 hours right now. So I went ahead and took some Excedrin. Hopefully that will kick in and I'll start feeling a little bit better. We are watching Fear the Walking Dead, and something I meant to do with the last episode but forgot to. So I did it just a few minutes ago before I started recording. I checked the actors, and I was curious as to if the person playing Kaltaka, I think I'm saying his name right, Walker, and that's why I kept calling him Walkers, because I was afraid I would say the name wrong. But I believe it's Kaltaka. I was wondering if he truly was Native American or if he was another ethnicity that they put in his place, because there's been a lot in the news about representation and diversity and all that kind of stuff. And he is Native American. He is part of the Cree Nation. There was actually more to it, but I can't remember all of it. But part of the Cree Nation up in Saskatchewan. And so I was glad to see that. I have a tangent about actors and representation and all that kind of stuff, but I won't get into that here. If you guys care about my opinion, I might do a separate video about that. But I was glad to see that he is Native American, Cree Nation, and so they had some true representation going on there. And I thought maybe, but I didn't want to assume, because you know what happens when you assume. So we are on Fear the Walking Dead, Season 3, Episode 9. This one is called Minotaur. Minotaur is a mythical beast. I believe the Minotaur is the one with the head of a bull bison type of head and then the body of a human. I think I've got the right mythical beast. Yeah, because the centaur is the human half with a horse body. I think those are the only two similar words. For some reason, I'm thinking there's another word that's similar to Minotaur, but I don't think there is. But remember, I'm not thinking straight because of the migraine. But a Minotaur is a buffalo, bison, bull type head, and then the human body, at least in Greek mythology, Roman mythology. It might have a different connotation here, so we will find out. I don't know what that could be referencing, other than Daniel's probably acting like a Minotaur with trying to find Ophelia. They just showed a little bit of snippets about Victor. Looked like he'd given up, and then it looked like he got his motivation back, but then we didn't get anything more after that, so I don't know what's going on with him. We don't know what's going on with Daniel, other than he drove off and left Victor. Ophelia looks like she's staying with Kaltaka's group, and I am assuming we're going to see more of them since they didn't kill each other off. There became this understanding, and so we might see more interaction in the future between the two groups. I don't know. I was confused by the end of exactly whose head that was in the backpack, because I thought he wanted Jeremiah's head. And maybe the boys were taking his body to bury his body, but agreed to give the head to give to Kaltaka. But then why the coffin in the barn, which was separate? So I was just confused by all of that. I'm hoping they explain it more, or somebody will fill me in months later because it's going to be months before I get these up. But somebody fill me in if it's not going to be in a future episode. Feel free to put it in the comments below, because I feel like I totally missed something, which is not unusual for me. Nick is the one that killed Jeremiah, but Madison had Nick do something. She said, "Follow my instructions exactly." And then the next thing we knew, Jake and Troy were coming in and found their father, and Maddie sitting there. So I don't know what was said to them. I imagine we're going to get some flashback to explain all that and kind of go from there. While we watch it, you're going to see me eating some tabbouleh. So it is dinner time. And dinner for me is supper. That's usually my biggest meal. If you didn't know, dinner is always the biggest meal of the day. And for many in the South, dinner is lunchtime because the farmers would, well, I imagine it'd be Northeast too, but the farmers would have their dinner at lunchtime because they needed to refuel. They would have a big breakfast and a big lunch, refuel for working out in the fields, and then go back out into the fields. And then they would have a light supper. Supper was usually a soup and something on the side. Well, not for the farmers, but supper comes from the words to mean soup, and because they would usually have soup as their last meal of the day, wherever the origins of the word came from. I'm mixing up my stuff again, but I know that much. But for me growing up, our biggest meal was always supper time. So I've always called dinner supper dinner. And so now when I have friends that say, "Hey, you want to have dinner?" I always question and I say, "Do you mean lunch or supper?" And actually, my former work wife, we had this discussion because we were going to meet up, and I had asked that question, and she goes, "Well, dinner means lunch." And I said, "Well, no, not always." And so that's when I showed her the history of the word. And she's like, "Oh." She is usually teaching me, but she taught me that time. Or I taught her that time. She did a lot of etiquette, Southern etiquette kind of stuff. And she also went to military school. So I've learned from her about some of that stuff. She wanted to go to military school. And so her parents helped her with that. Maybe one day you guys will get to meet her. If I ever figure out how to record via this, I am going to meet up with her on Labor Day. We're going to have a distant date, a meeting with her and her husband, and we're having ice cream and just to talk. We're keeping distant, though, because she still works in the ED. And even though I know she takes all precautions she needs to because she's at high risk, she has pulmonary problems and heart problems. So I know she takes all the precautions she needs to for herself, and she doesn't work in the ED specifically, but she still deals with folks who go through the ED up into the emergency behavioral health holding area, which is up on the first floor. And so she works up on that unit, so she's still at risk. She's just not as at risk as she would be if she was doing all parts of the job. So I know she's being careful, but I'm still paranoid. I avoided my dad for 2 weeks because I did see him once in those 2 weeks because I thought something was wrong with me. My hands were turning blue. So he had gone to the grocery store and he had a mask on when he came into my house to visit. I don't know if it's because he still had it on from the grocery store or if he was doing it because he was being careful because of Patty visiting him. But he did see me once in those 2 weeks. But otherwise, I avoided my dad for 2 weeks. So come on. And I've gotten off on a tangent. So hopefully I've cut some of this out. Hopefully I find a good spot to edit out. Because that is just way too much information. It's going to eat my dinner. And we're going to watch this next episode, Minotaur, and see what it's all about. And Purdy's going to go to sleep. Now you guys can see where she's constantly sitting when I'm doing reactions. Because this is her spot. This is where she sits. And she just gets that dumb look on her face. Don't you? Alright. And I'm trying to remember to do full screen. Because I keep forgetting to do that. I know it looks better. Aesthetically. I couldn't think of the A word. I know it looks better aesthetically, so I'm trying to remember to do that, but I'm not always remembering, so you'll notice differences. And I am recording, right? So, if you haven't watched my video on tabbouleh, making tabbouleh, a version of it, all that's in it is parsley, tomatoes, cucumber, and the little white specks are couscous, because we don't have bulgur wheat, I think is how it's said. Lemon juice, extra virgin olive oil. And that's all there is in it. Oh, and green onions. That's all there is in it. So real healthy. That's why she gets picked on all the time. She goes and bothers her brother. Alright, let's watch the show. Episode 5 for today. This is actually episode 9. Just remember, the death is she in his house now? Just remember, the death is not the end. Is that a dog? A white dog? When you search in vain to the well's gone dry. Give us a flashback. Explain things. Moving in. They're going to work together. Please flashback. Tell me. Tell him to flashback. Showing the water tables drying up.
I mean, asshole here, he's dying for a shot. In a little fire water, you'll start blasting. Am I wrong, Kimasabi?
Kimasabi's the Lone Ranger's Indian name. You mean Tonto.
It is a common misconception, though.
Here we go.
Shoot him. He's too much trouble.
Don't go eating your boy. Nothing good comes from this.
Just kill Troy.
If I had a matching pair, I'd be Jesus.
Need 2 in the feet and 1 in the ribs, too. I would say Kataka is not going to do anything to her son because he's seen her wrath. So, and that was without him being dead. She needs to go ahead and kill him. He's just going to return and cause havoc. She's going to shoot him. No, she's not. But something's going to happen for Jackson dying. They say Claw Jackson. So Crazy Dog is... I don't know if he's Native American. See, Claw is K-L-A-H. Kalani Kaipo. He's from the Blackfeet tribe. Also is indigenous Hawaiian. Now, somebody can correct me on this. Is indigenous Hawaiian, is that Samoan? Or is Samoan separate from indigenous? I can't say it anymore. My brain's better, but the brain is dead. Also says he's Swedish descent. And I was thinking he might be because he's got the look, but again, wasn't sure. That picture looks familiar. What is that from? Kalani. And I think Kalani is Hawaiian. Kaipo. I'm not sure what Kaipo is from, if I'm saying it correctly. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Am I bothering you? I'm sorry. While we're looking, let's see if Daniel Salazar is from El Salvador or not, because I think that's where they said he's from. He's from Panama. Now, just because they're from somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that that's their ethnicity. I do know that. My great-grandmother or my great-great-grandmother was born in France. But the family was actually from Prussia. They had moved to France to avoid a lot of the treatment they were getting. Their original last name was Spiegelblatt, which is German, I believe. It something mirror, something to do with a mirror. But because of their last name, they were not treated well, and so they moved to Paris, France. And that's where I think it's my great-grandmother was born. Great-great-grandmother. That's where she was born. And then the family moved to America because they started getting treated badly in Paris because their last name is Spiegelblatt. And then when they came to the U.S., they changed their last name. Most of them. I think there was one family member who didn't change their last name. But the rest of them took on my great uncle's wife's family's last name, which was Sherman. So she actually became, I'm trying to think of her first name now. Henrietta Sherman. I think it was Henrietta. It might have been Henrietta's mother. But they took on her last name, so they changed from Spiegelblatt to Sherman. So that's one of my family's name changes that I know about. I'm still trying to figure out where my last name comes from. I know the derivative. I'm not going to get into it with you guys. We know the derivative's original name, but it was changed from something else to the changed one when they came over to America also. And I cannot find out what the original last name was. I've got a lead, but I don't know if it's correct or not, because Grandpa, and unfortunately we didn't ask him. Well, I didn't ask him. My dad and his sisters probably did, but we didn't ask him what his original last name was, the family's original last name was, until after he had Lewy body dementia. And all he could remember was that it started with T and ended in ski, and thought it was something like Tabrisky. But I think it was actually Jabrowski, which is similar. It's a D instead of a T in ski. And the picture I found of the first name of my great-great-grandfather, the first name of my great-great-grandfather, I found on a picture of someone with that same first name and Jabrowski. And they look very similar to my father. And so I think that that's our original last name, but I got to find a way to either connect the pieces or disprove it, one way or the other. So I'm fascinated by all of that. But okay. And I'm starting to get emotional. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I get really emotional with migraines, though, because it drains you, and you don't have the energy to fluctuate your emotions as easily. So I love looking at family history and ethnicity and all that kind of stuff because it's not always what you think or anything. So, and I promise I am going to do a video on it one day. At the rate I'm moving, I don't know if it'll be before or after you see this though. So I still haven't done my deep dive on Tiger King yet, which is something I want to do. I've got to get through 13 Reasons. As soon as I get through that, then I'll do the deep dive on Tiger King because there are some shows on Netflix that I want to record to react to, and I don't want to keep waiting on them. So one show I will not be reacting to on YouTube is Shameless. There's just way too much nudity, profanity, all that kind of stuff, and it's one of those shows. I love the show, but I don't like watching it with other people. And so I don't really want to watch it with you guys. No offense. So, back to Fear of the Walking Dead. Or Fear of the Walking Dead, not Fear of the Walking Dead. Okay, so piecing things together to where I was confused with that one episode, the ending of the one episode. So I think what Madison did was she told the boys that he shot himself because he was sacrificing himself to make peace with everything. He didn't want to give in, but he didn't want to fight them either, and blah, 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 blah. So he shot himself. And then after they took his body, they put him in a coffin somewhere, and she went to that coffin that was in a barn, wherever it was. It was off-site, so maybe one of the outposts. That part's still not explained. But I think she went to wherever the coffin was, took off his head, gave that to Kaltaka. That doesn't sound right now. Gave that to Walker. And then brokered their peace. And he knows what the truth is, but he hasn't shared that with his people either. Because he knows that Madison is the true leader, but also knows that she has to let it look like Jake is leading. So I think they've orchestrated all that. And with the coffin being nailed shut, I think that's why they made the comment about not having an open casket and all that. So I think that's what happened. I don't know if they'll explain that little part or not. But I don't know how she's going to explain Claw being killed. I think she's going to have to take on some punishment since she didn't kill him because that would make him a martyr. But she's come back with him dead. Because Walker is not going to believe that he just... It is Kaltaka. He's not going to believe that he just took off or anything like that. So she knows better than to make that kind of lie. So I don't know. Daniel and Lola are making a run for it. The people turned on them, which I think is what... I missed part of that conversation, and I do have my contacts in, so I was able to read. But they're drying out. I'm going to try to keep them in till the end of this. But I kind of missed some of what's going on because I can't read and process everything at the same time. That's why I don't like doing subtitles. I'm not trying to be snooty or anything like that. I can't process it as easily. So I missed some of it, but I got the part where he was trying to get her to lead, and it was going to be up to her to be whatever kind of leader she was going to be, but also warning her that there was going to be danger. So I think that was part of that conversation, but also knowing that one day they may have to abandon things. I think that might have been in there. I don't know. I do know that she was trying to get him... I think she was trying to get him to either go out and look for Ophelia and get out there and look for her rather than just sitting there where he was waiting. And I think it's because Lola was thinking that if she was still alive, she would have gone past the point of where they were at. I don't know. We'll see more about that. Was the glimpse of Victor in this one, or was it in the last one? I can't remember now. We're not getting much on him, though. Maybe this next episode we will. I don't know. I'm ready for things to move forward. I'm still kind of bored with things. You know, that with Troy taking that stand in the house, that was stupid. And maybe they were trying to get at the fact that Troy was just being stupid. But anybody with any common sense, much less tactical experience, would know that that was stupid. Although his dad was planning on going down with the house. So, I don't know. Maybe it runs in the blood. Huh. They had unlimited supply of ammo, whereas you only have so much ammo in the house. So, I don't know. Let's get on to the next episode, huh? That's enough jabbering. I'll move on. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you next time. Bye.